Wasabi guys, Void here, coming back at you with another top 10 video. This time we are going to go over the top 10 colorless cards in the Commander format. Now, I already did a list of the top 10 lands in the Commander format, so be sure to check that out. I will not have any lands on this list because this is going to be non-land cards, specifically just because I feel that I already did the land list, and why go over them again? So I'm just going to be doing a separate list for non-land colorless cards. Keep in mind it's going to be for the most part artifacts on this list. They tend to be colorless more often than not. So without further ado, let's start this list off here with number 10, All Is Dust. The best colorless board wipe, hands down. Each player sacrifices all colored permanents they control. That is just epic. Sacrifice removal is always going to be a good thing. It's going to get around so many things. The only thing it might not get around would be Sigarda, Host of Herons, which good commander for that whole reason of you don't have to sacrifice your permanents. All of Dust, though, pretty much deals with everything else. Dominating board wipe, one of the better ones, and for 7 mana, what it does, you can't really argue that a 4 mana board wipe for creatures is that much better. I mean, for 7 mana to do all this, to sacrifice all colored permanents, it's definitely a devastating blow to anybody's board state. Number 9, we have Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Now, I was considering Karn for this list, however, I feel that Karn initially, while he does offer a little bit more precision, being able to exile a specific card with his minus and being able to choose an opponent to have exile the card from their hand, I feel though with Ugin immediately you drop him down and he's able to deal with just about any threat on the board at that time. His minus X is just insane. Dealing with any sort of overwhelming board state. Most things you're going to have to deal with are under 7 converted mana cost, so it's a very useful thing to have, and throw him into something like Super Friends where it's a lot easier to get his ults off, and you're most likely going to be put in a winning position with a lot of Planeswalker ults, but I feel like his is definitely one that, while it may not be disparaging for your opponents, it definitely puts you so far ahead of the competition. 7 permanents, that's no joke there. Number 8, we have Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. The only Eldrazi I felt that was actually deserving of being on this list. I know the other ones are very good. The ones that are legal, I know Emrakul's banned. You have the old Ulamog, the older Kozilek, which would be the only two that could potentially take this spot here. However, the main thing going for them is the Annihilator, which is a better ability than having the attack trigger of to the top 20 cards of their library exiled, which is still very good when you think about it. I mean, I know commander decks are pretty big, but 20 cards exiled, that's a lot to disrupt a lot of people's strategies, and that shouldn't be taken for granted. But no, the main reason why he's on here, his cast trigger is easily the best out of the playable Eldrazi in the commander format. Exiling 2 permanents, having that type of precision, even if they counter it, you still get to exile the 2 permanents. The old Ulamog was just destroy 1 target permanent, which significantly worse. This gets around to destructibles. Being able to deal with 2 huge threats in a commander format, it's a pretty big deal, especially when you can ensure that they're never going to get them back. That's even better. And on top of that, he's just amazing. He makes for an interesting option if you wanted to go with the colorless commander option. Making a colorless deck, so you could definitely put him in as a commander, and I feel like you have a pretty good thing going there. Having the cast trigger there is just awesome. Number 7, we have Skulk Lamp. Pretty much an auto-include in a lot of decks, mainly token decks. You're basically just going to be dumping tokens into it the whole game, trying to get as much card draw as you can. I think that whenever you talk about early options of card draw, initially we think of cards like Library of Alexandria, cards like that just get you an insane amount of card advantage over the long term. And Skulk Lamp, if left alone, it's going to get you card draw. People don't typically view it as a significant threat, as they should be. I mean, leave it alone and yeah, your opponents have to sacrifice creatures, or they have to dump 1 toughness creatures into it to continuously get the 2 card draw, but it's still definitely worth doing. Because, I mean, card draw is card draw, and anytime you can get that much for a very little cost, paying 1 mana and, equipping a token to it is just not that big of a deal. So, getting 2 cards off of that's insane. Number 6, we have Lightning Greaves. Now, obviously, Swiftfoot Boots is not going to be on this list for the main reason that it's equip cost of 1 mana. Equip cost of 0 is significantly better. You don't have to wait. You don't have to do anything. You just pay the 2 mana to get it out there and equip it immediately. So yeah, obviously you hold up the 2 mana to do that. Hexproof is better than Shroud because you can still equip your creatures with enchantments, auras, and other equipment. However, for 2 mana to essentially give a creature haste, which is one of the first things that you're obviously going to be thinking about, you have to give your creatures haste if you want to make your deck more aggressive, especially for Voltron builds. That's the main reason why people play Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, is for the haste. The protection is really a bonus, and it definitely helps that you give them. I mean, giving them Shroud is just insane for just 2 mana, basically. You're giving Shroud and haste for just 2 mana. I mean, that's just not fair. I mean, it's only 2 mana. You're going to be throwing this into just about any deck. If your commander is important at all for your strategy, you're going to be playing Lightning Greaves. It doesn't have to be Voltron based. It doesn't have to be combat based at all. It doesn't have to be anything significant. If your commander is at all important for what your strategy is, then you're most likely going to be playing Lightning Greaves. If anything, just for the haste enabling. Number 5, we have Paradox Engine. Now, arguably one of the more busted cards on the list here. However, its interaction with so many different things in this format, it's what forced me to put it on this list where it is, because while it has the potential to be extremely powerful and busted, and almost overwhelmingly so, you have just the interaction with so many things in this format. I mean, you could throw this into a wizard build, you can throw this into an artifact build, you could throw this into elves if you even wanted to. I mean, the synergy's there. Untapping and tapping is always going to be an important thing, and when you have non-land ramp, when you have artifacts that tap for mana, it's awesome in Storm. If you saw my Storm deck tech, it's just amazing. It's just an auto-include in so many decks that, I mean, when this card was spoiled for Aether Revolt here, everybody just, they flipped out. They knew this card automatically was going to be an all-star, and now you have people that want it to be banned. I don't know. It might be jumping the gun a bit, but I think it's definitely a very powerful card, to say the least. Number 4, we have another combo-associated card here. We have Astronaut's Altar, with an honorable mention to Phyrexian Altar. I think they're very close in power level. I think Astronaut's is definitely a little bit better because you have the ability to combo more often than not. You can still combo with Phyrexian Altar. I feel, though, that it's a lot easier. You can pull off Brea combos way easier with Astronaut's Altar, as well as Gave Guru of Spores. Just sacrificing a creature with no other drawbacks than just sacrificing it and getting 2 colorless mana. I mean, that automatically just synergizes with so many different sack outlets, so many sack triggers. And obviously you have infinite combos. That I'm usually against combos that are effortless and they don't require much effort, so putting cards like Paradox Engine and Astronaut's Altar on here, while I think they're very powerful cards, I feel like they're a little bit more involved than some other cards in this format, so that's definitely why I don't hesitate on putting them on this list. And Astronaut's Altar is just the best sack outlet in the format. Hands down, just getting 2 colorless, it fits into every single deck. Phyrexian Altar is a very close second to this card, I think, but it's still worth mentioning, as, I mean, most decks that play Astronauts are also going to likely play Phyrexian Altar. Having the option of colored mana is also pretty good too, so you could honestly just flip a coin and just decide which one you would prefer. Obviously, if you want to go the more combo route, you would go with Astronaut's Altar, but it's definitely worth considering both. Number 3, we have Sensei's Divining Top, with an honorable mention here to Scroll Rack. I feel Scroll Rack is a little bit more specific to certain decks that would benefit. I mean, think of Mael the Anima, Narset Enlightened Master, anything where you want cards in your hand to go back on top of your library. However, with every other deck, most decks are going to prefer Sensei's Divining Top because it's just good card draw manipulation. I mean, being able to look through your deck, you're not technically digging, but you're looking at the top cards. You're deciding, okay, which one do I want right now? And you can definitely swap top for the top card of your library at any time to really just accelerate your deck or just get anything that you really need at that moment. And it's definitely early game, one of the better turn 1 plays in the game, period, for Commander, definitely. Turn 1 plays, you obviously have your Soul Ring, and if you can follow it up with a Sensei's Divining Top, it's definitely an awesome turn 1 there. Scroll Rack is definitely more specific, which is why I didn't put it here, but it's definitely worth mentioning because a lot of decks do still prefer Scroll Rack over Sensei's. So while Sensei's is just awesome in the majority of decks, there are certain decks where Scroll Rack is preferable. Number 2, we have Sol Ring. Now, with an honorable mention here, it's going to go to both Mana Vault and Grim Monolith, because I feel that in terms of just power, initially you're going to just get off to an insane start if you get any of these three. However, with Sol Ring, you have the upside of it does untap without having to pay any mana. There are decks that can untap artifacts super easy, and they can make it to where it's not even a factor, the fact that they have the cost of untapping there. So definitely very powerful artifacts in their own right. However, Sol Ring just, I mean, it takes over here. Definitely number 2 best colorless card in this format. The fact that it's the preferred first turn play, and the fact that all of these are also banned in Dual Commander because they're just insanely powerful, and getting off to that, awesome turn 1 or turn 2 with just insane mana there, following up for the rest of the game. Every single deck plays it. I mean, it's just that awesome. Why the hell not? Which leads us into the number 1 spot here, which is Mana Crypt. You've heard me say this before. It's just the best card in Commander, period. Multiplayer, that is. I mean, obviously you're not going to play it. It's also banned in Dual Commander, but we're talking about multiplayer Commander here. 0 mana for 2 mana ramp. I mean, that's just insane. It's better than Sol Ring. If you think the upkeep cost of flipping a coin and potentially losing 3 life is a big deal, it really isn't. Decks that can combo out early and decks that can really just get off to a good start, they don't care about losing 3 life every now and then. And a lot of times you're just going to get lucky and not have to lose it at all. But that's not the big deal here. I mean, that's not even a factor. When we're considering just power here, we're talking about which card is associated with better starts. I mean, having the benefit of you can be tapped out, you can play this. There's a lot of combos associated with Mana Crypt, more so than Sol Ring. So the fact that it has that power, that insane just capability of helping you go off, and there are turn 1 win combos that definitely, I mean, they require Mana Crypt, and it's just a powerful card in general. Some people have been arguing that maybe we could unban the Moxes one day for Commander, which would be an interesting proposal here, but then you'd have to look at, say, the value of a card like Mana Crypt, and you have to say, oh, is that necessarily a good idea here? We're talking about the potential for turn 1 combos and turn 1 wins in this format that is primarily casual, but I mean, nevertheless, it's still the best card in Commander by far. It's 0 mana for 2 mana ramp. I mean, it's the best turn 1 play. Obviously, Sol Ring is up there, but this definitely takes the cake. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this top 10 colorless Commander cards list. Let me know if you enjoyed it. If you did, like and share this video. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of other top 10 videos and other things. So this is Void here signing off. You guys have a wonderful day.